He's the most prolific music writer since the invention of music itself back in the 1940s.
Really?
His name is Mark Prindle, and you can find his reviews at, surprisingly, markprindle.com, along with tons of interviews with some of the most interesting people in all of rock music. And he's here again with us to talk about the latest news in pop music. He knows tunes like I Know Wounds. Hey, Mark, first question. You're just sitting there. Did you see something unusual on the computer when you got in there?
Yeah, I sat down and looked at the computer here, and it was on the page that was up is the Andrew Levy page on Wikipedia. I thought that was kind of interesting. Maybe you guys can talk about that with him at the end of the show.
I think we will. Now, the first piece of news, it's final. Madonna and her husband of 8 years, Guy Ritchie, were granted a quickie divorce in Britain earlier today. Mark, what went wrong with this marriage?
Well, there are a lot of rumors flying about this, but I think what it all boils down to is that Guy Ritchie married Madonna. That's pretty much it.
That is true. Why did it take them 8 years to realize that the marriage wasn't going to work?
We have to remember, Greg, that Madonna spends most of her life thinking about herself.
Yes.
So it may have just taken her 8 years to realize, hey, there's a man in my house.
That is true. Now, what do you think about the rumors that Madonna has been sleeping with A-Rod?
Well, Greg, when a woman's lonely, she'll use whatever's around. A rod, a wine bottle, a cucumber. That's not for us to decide.
That is so true. Now, do you think this divorce will have any effect on Madonna's music?
Well, if it'll make her stop referring to her genitals as a candy store, I think it'll be worth it.
Yes, that is true. Now, in happier news, Ashlee Simpson and her rocker husband, Pete Wentz, last night gave birth to a baby boy. What's your take on this?
Yeah, hey, Greg, you think the doctor had to pull really hard to get the baby out? Or was he a fallout boy?
Very good.
Give me five. Give me five, Greg.
I'm trying to, but I can't.
Oh.
It's over there somewhere. Anyway, you know, they gave the child a very unusual name, Bronx Mowgli Wentz. What does this name mean?
It means he's going to be beaten up pretty much daily his entire time in school, 12 years.
Now, as evidenced by the Madonna-Guy Ritchie divorce, celebrity marriages don't generally work out in the long run. Do you think it's selfish for celebrities to have children, considering that they will most likely end up the products of a broken home?
Well, from what I've heard about Pete Wentz, I think it's a lot more likely this kid is the product of a broken uterus. If you know what I mean.
I have no idea what you mean. I can't do that. All right. Now, do you think Bronx will inherit the artistic genes of his parents?
God, I hope not. It'd be nice if he had some musical talent.
Now, you know, he's the lead singer of a band. I believe it's called the Fallout Boys. I'm not sure. And it's a genre called emo. Can you elaborate on this music?
Emo?
Yes.
No.
No. You don't listen to it?
No, I just wanted to say no when you say emo.
Very good.
No, I think actually emo is just awful. It started off as a pretty interesting form of emotional punk rock music that some guys were doing in Washington, D.C. in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Led into Fugazi, and then now it's just whiny young boys with hair in their face.
Yeah.
It's noisy, it's garbage, it's filth. I hate it!
All right. Now, on to more music news. Paul McCartney this week launched his new album, Electric Arguments, by streaming it on MySpace. Why MySpace?
Well, two reasons. First of all, he's really pushing hard for the 11-year-old girl demographic with this record.
Yes.
And secondly, you just can't post stuff like this on Facebook because then everyone you work with will see it.
Yeah.
You know, and then God forbid you're in a job interview in a few years and they're like, hey, we looked you up on Facebook. That's a pretty lousy album you have up there.
That is so true. Now, I understand that this is not being released as a Paul McCartney album, but rather is being attributed to The Fireman. Explain.
Yes. Well, The Fireman, this is actually the third album for The Fireman. It's a project of Paul McCartney and Youth, who's the old bassist of Killing Joke. Killing Joke is a great band, by the way.
Yes.
The Fireman is not a great band, by the way. Their first two albums were really just terrible techno music. The new one is different, though. It's basically terrible new age music with some terrible pop and some terrible rock in it. It's pretty good.
Now, he's been hinting about the release of a rare 14-minute experimental Beatles track called Carnival of Light. Is this just another attempt to prove that he was the real genius and not John Lennon?
Yeah, that's his new thing now. I was the avant-garde one, not John. That's obvious. Let's see. John, Revolution 9. Paul, Rocky Raccoon. John, guitar feedback and Yoko Ono screaming. Paul, Sea Moon. Oh, yeah. We see it now. You were the genius.
You know, quickly, final story. A perfume company went into business with Prince to create a fragrance named after his 2006 album, 3121. Now, they're suing him for $100,000 for failing to promote the perfume. Why wouldn't Prince promote his own perfume?
Because it probably stinks as bad as his last 15 albums, Greg. This guy, he has a few good songs, but when you consider how many great artists there have been in Minneapolis, not just the Husker Du and the Replacements, but people like the Cows, Halo of Flies, all those noise bands from AMREP, you know, they're completely ignored. Meanwhile, Prince changes his name to a no smoking sign, and everybody's, oh, he's a genius.
All right, Mark, we got to roll. Thank you so much. We will see you very